All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty fascinating and ancient, I think, and that is the Vamana Purana.
Mm.
And we're going to be drawing on a lot of the really insightful stuff in the Vamana Purana, the Dwarf incarnation, cosmic Dharma, and hidden dimensions of divine play podcast.
Right, yeah.
So that's sort of our source material today.
Yeah, and this Purana really centers around the fifth avatar of Lord Vishnu,
Yeah.
Vamana, who, appears in this humble, diminutive form,
Right.
but, contains within him this, power to transform into the huge Trivikrama who, measures the cosmos in just 3 steps.
Yeah.
So it's just, a really powerful story.
Absolutely. And it's not just, a story. It's it's brimming with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And, the kind of things that we're going to sort of unpack today are how the infinite can reside in the finite.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that humility can be a surprising source of strength.
Yeah.
And the way that balance or Dharma is constantly being sort of reasserted in the universe.
Mm.
So we're going to look at, we'll look at the rich symbolism that's in there. We'll look at, the connection to sacred places, the purpose of rituals, the significance of pilgrimages, and, just the sort of fundamental cosmic principles that this Purana kind of lays out.
Yeah.
So, just to get things rolling, what is the Vamana Purana?
Well, the Vamana Purana, it's classified as one of the 18 major Puranas.
Okay.
These are foundational Sanskrit texts covering a vast range of subjects.
Right.
And this particular Purana contains about 10,000 verses, or shlokas.
Okay.
And while it's primarily associated with Vaishnavism,
Right.
The tradition focused on Lord Vishnu, it's remarkable because it also incorporates elements from Shaivism, the worship of Shiva, and Shaktism, which centers on the divine feminine.
Right. So it's got a Vishnu core,
Yeah.
but it's not, it's not exclusively
No.
Vishnu-centric.
It's not a sectarian text.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it suggests a broader perspective.
Right.
Yeah, and while the story of the Vamana avatar is central to it, the Purana's scope actually extends to incredibly detailed descriptions of pilgrimage destinations, known as tirthas.
Okay.
It offers deep insights into the significance and power of Lord Shiva.
Right.
Beyond that, you find all kinds of narratives about just and wise kings, insightful sages, dedicated yogis, and even explorations into the very nature of our own inner consciousness.
Right. So it's kind of like a lens, with the Vamana story being sort of the focal point.
Yeah.
But then it kind of widens to encompass all these different
Yes.
facets of,
That's a very insightful way to put it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think the Vamana Purana serves as this potent reflection on the power of cosmic humility. It illustrates how true expansion of our awareness doesn't come from, forceful dominance, but rather through periods of stillness, introspection, and learning to restrain our ego.
Right. Right. Okay, so let's get into the heart of it then. The actual legend of the Vamana avatar.
So the story unfolds during the reign of King Bali,
Okay.
who was an Asura king renowned for his noble character and immense generosity.
Okay.
However, Bali's ambition kind of grew unchecked, and his ego led him to expand his rule across all 3 realms,
Okay.
the earth, the heavens, and the netherworld.
Okay.
And the Purana suggests that this unchecked expansion symbolized the rise of what's called tamas guna. Think of it like a car stuck in mud and nurture resistance to change.
Okay.
The Purana suggests that Bali's ambition, while seemingly positive in driving expansion,
Right.
kind of tipped the scales towards this heavier, less dynamic energy.
So Bali wasn't a villain,
Right.
but his ambition was creating an imbalance.
Precisely, yeah. To restore that balance, Lord
Yeah.
Vishnu chose a unique approach.
Okay.
Not one of direct conflict, but through divine play, or Leela.
Right.
Think of Leela as a divine sport.
Okay.
A way for the divine to interact with creation in a seemingly effortless way. So Vishnu incarnated as Vamana, a dwarf brahmachari, a young celibate student, and approached Bali during a grand yajna, a sacred fire ritual where offerings are made.
Right. And the request was so simple, just 3 paces of land.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's in this seemingly small request that the divine Leela truly unfolds.
Right.
So Vamana begins to grow, expanding into this colossal form of Trivikrama. With his first step, he encompasses the entire earth.
Wow.
With his second, he strides across the heavens.
Okay.
And then he turns to Bali and asks where he should place his third step, as there's nowhere left in the created universe.
Right. And Bali, recognizing who he's dealing with,
Exactly.
makes the ultimate offer.
Exactly. Despite having lost all his earthly power,
Right.
Bali, in a moment of profound realization, offers his own head as the place for the third step.
Yeah.
This act of complete surrender, the total relinquishing of his pride and ego, earns him immortality and the right to rule the netherworld known as Patala.
So that's so powerful, that image of like surrender leading to something far greater.
Right.
So what's the deeper, more like esoteric meaning embedded in those 3 steps?
Well, the 3 strides of Trivikrama are like rich with symbolic meaning.
Okay.
Each representing a different plane of consciousness.
Okay.
The first step, Puloka, signifies earth consciousness,
Okay.
our everyday waking state,
Okay.
and our connection to the physical world.
Right. So that's our grounded reality.
Right. The second step, Bhuvorloka, represents the astral or subtle realm.
Okay.
Think of it as like the intermediary space
Okay.
between the physical and the celestial, often associated with our thoughts, our emotions, and even the realm where like departed spirits reside.
Okay. So moving beyond just what we can touch and see into
Right.
sort of the more energetic and mental layers of existence.
Precisely. And then the third step, Swarloka, embodies the celestial or spiritual domain,
Okay.
the realm of higher consciousness of divine beings and of ultimate truth. So this progression symbolizes the journey of the individual self, what's called the jiva. Imagine a single drop of water expanding to merge with the supreme self, the Paramatma, the vast ocean from which that drop originated.
So Bali offering his head for that final step is like the ultimate act of letting go of his individual ego.
Exactly. By surrendering his ego, that identification with his limited self and his earthly dominion, Bali transcends the limitations of time and mortality, essentially realizing his inherent connection to that like timeless consciousness.
Right.
The Vaman Purana really emphasizes that true growth and liberation don't come from conquering external worlds,
Right.
but from cultivating inner humility and relinquishing the ego, marking a profound and fundamental shift in consciousness.
It's amazing how this seemingly simple story holds just like these profound layers of meaning. Now, something that stood out to me from the source material was the attention given to Lord Shiva within this Purana, which is, primarily focused on Vishnu. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it is a noteworthy and somewhat unique characteristic.
Yeah.
Despite its Vaishnava orientation, the Vamana Purana dedicates substantial portions to the praise and veneration of Lord Shiva. It includes detailed narratives surrounding the creation and destruction of the universe and engages in deep metaphysical discussions where Shiva is identified as Param Tattva, the ultimate reality, the very ground of all being.
Right. So again, speaking to that unifying principle.
Absolutely. The Purana elaborates on the significance of the Jyotirlingas.
Okay.
The 12 sacred abodes of Shiva revered as pillars of light.
Right.
It also details the origin and profound importance of Kashi, also known as Varanasi, a city particularly sacred to Shiva. Furthermore, it explores the power and nature of Rudra, a fierce and transformative aspect of Shiva, and even incorporates mantras, rituals, and tantric practices associated with Shiva as means for achieving inner transformation.
So it's not presenting them as like separate, potentially conflicting deities.
Exactly.
But as like,
different expressions, different facets of the same ultimate reality. Precisely. The Vamana Purana beautifully portrays Shiva and Vishnu not as distinct and opposing forces, but as integral and interconnected aspects of the undivided Brahman.
Right.
The ultimate all-encompassing reality. It's a powerful message of unity that transcends any sectarian divisions we might perceive.
And moving on from that, fascinating interplay between Vishnu and Shiva.
Yeah.
The Purana also puts a lot of emphasis on pilgrimage and the sacred geography of India.
Indeed, the Vamana Purana is remarkable for its incredibly detailed and extensive descriptions of numerous holy sites or tirthas scattered across the Indian subcontinent.
Okay.
It meticulously maps locations from Kurukshetra in the north, a place of great historical and spiritual significance, down to Kedarnath, high in the Himalayas, and from Pushkar in Rajasthan, with its sacred lake up to Bhadrakashram, also nestled in the Himalayas, amongst many, many others.
And these aren't just randomly chosen scenic spots.
No.
These are places that have a deeper significance.
According to the Purana, these tirthas are considered to be consciousness portals.
Okay.
Specific points on the earth where the veil between the earthly and the divine realms is believed to be particularly thin. The text even subtly suggests that these sites function somewhat like the chakra points in the human body.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like the land itself
Yep.
has
Right.
energetic centers.
Furthermore, the Purana offers intriguing insights into how water bodies are believed to retain memory, how the positioning and architecture of ancient temples often align with specific stellar constellations, and how undertaking pilgrimages to these sacred sites has the potential to realign one's karmic structure,
Wow.
offering profound opportunities for purification and spiritual growth.
It's like a spiritual map of India, encoded with all these layers of meaning and energetic significance and historical memory.
Yeah.
Now, shifting gears a bit, the source material also highlights the Purana's teachings on Dharma, on rituals, and on how one should conduct their daily life.
Yeah, the Vamana Purana provides profound and practical guidance on how to live a righteous and meaningful life.
Okay.
Through its detailed teachings on Dharma, which encompasses one's duties, responsibilities, and ethical conduct,
Right.
it emphasizes the importance of Nicha Karma, our daily duties and observances,
Okay.
and Naimitika Karma, occasional duties performed during specific events or times.
Right.
Crucially, it also lays out the yamas and niyamas, the ethical and moral principles that form the foundational bedrock of both Vedic and yogic philosophy,
Wow.
guiding our interactions with the world and our inner selves.
So it's not just about, grand spiritual gestures. It's really about
Exactly.
Right.
It's about the nitty-gritty of ethical living.
in all aspects of life.
Absolutely. The Purana places great stress on the significance of proper behavior in all our interactions. The importance of charity and selfless generosity,
Right.
the fundamental duty to be hospitable to guests,
Okay.
the unwavering power of truthfulness in our words and actions, the spiritual benefits of fasting and self-discipline, and the correct understanding and performance of rituals and offerings as a means of connecting with the divine and purifying our inner being.
And there's a particular quote from the source material that I think really sums this up.
Yeah, it beautifully sums up the Purana's down-to-earth approach to spirituality.
Yeah.
It says, "A person who wakes with sunrise chants sacred mantras, actively helps others in need, and diligently controls their speech, is considered closer to moksha, to liberation, than an ascetic who merely boasts of their austerities."
Wow.
So this powerfully highlights that true spiritual progress isn't found in outward displays of renunciation,
Right.
but in the consistent cultivation of positive qualities and ethical conduct in our everyday lives.
That's really grounding and accessible, I think. Okay, moving to a much grander scale. The Vamana Purana also delves into the vastness of cosmic cycles
Yes.
and the very nature of time itself.
Indeed, the Purana outlines the immense and cyclical nature of yugas, the different ages of the universe, each with its own characteristics and durations, and kalpas, which are even longer cosmic epochs encompassing cycles of creation and dissolution.
Right.
This grand framework serves to illustrate the truly immense scale of cosmic time
Right.
and the relatively fleeting and ephemeral nature of our individual existence within this vast cosmic play.
It really forces you to zoom out and gain some perspective
That certainly does.
on our place in the universe.
The Purana introduces this profound concept of Vishnu's blink of an eye representing the duration of an entire epoch,
Wow.
powerfully emphasizing the cyclical nature of creation, sustenance, and eventual dissolution. It also delves into the role of Maya, often translated as a divine illusion, in creating the perceived limitations of our reality and binding individuals to the continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
Right.
Think of Maya like watching a captivating movie. Intellectually it's not real,
Right.
but you still get caught up in the emotions and the narrative.
Right. So we're essentially participants in this grand cosmic play of illusion.
To a certain extent, yes.
Okay.
However, the Purana offers a clear path to liberation from this perceived bondage,
Okay.
emphasizing that awareness, the direct recognition of the true nature of reality beyond the veiling power of Maya, is the crucial key.
Okay.
It also presents various spiritual disciplines such as devotion, karma yoga, the path of selfless action, and mantra sadhana, the practice of sacred sounds and chanting as effective means to transcend the limitations imposed by time and this cosmic illusion.
So it's not just about intellectually understanding the vastness of time. It's also about engaging in practices that allow us to
Exactly.
step outside of his perceived limitation.
Through spiritual realization, yeah.
Now let's explore the figure of Vamana himself
Okay.
as a potent spiritual symbol,
Okay.
almost like a guiding guru figure.
The Vamana avatar is far more than just a deity in a mythological narrative. It embodies the very principle of the Guru Tattva, the essential nature of the spiritual teacher.
Right.
Vamana's seemingly insignificant dwarf-like stature symbolizes humility,
Right.
which is so often recognized as the crucial first step on any genuine spiritual path. His act of humbly begging for alms beautifully represents the disciple's essential willingness to receive guidance and knowledge from the guru.
And then that dramatic expansion into the immense Trivikrama form.
Yes.
What does that symbolize?
That powerful transformation signifies the unfolding of spiritual intelligence and the gradual but certain realization of one's true unlimited and infinite nature. The symbolism continues with Vamana's divine feet representing Brahman, the ultimate all-pervading reality, and Bali's selfless offering of his own head symbolizing the complete surrender of individuality, the ego, at the metaphorical feet of the divine.
That's powerful. The source material also highlighted that the Vaman Purana contains inspiring stories of various devotees. Could you share a couple of those?
Yes, indeed. Throughout the Purana, there are interspersed inspiring narratives of devotees who beautifully exemplify the core principles that the text imparts. We encounter the enlightening story of sage Vashishta, a highly revered and wise sage who generously imparts the profound science and power of mantra to sincere seekers, powerfully underscoring the vital importance of sacred sound for achieving spiritual awakening and inner transformation.
And the story of King Harishchandra.
Absolutely. The timeless tale of King Harishchandra serves as a potent reminder of the unwavering commitment to truth and righteousness, even when faced with unimaginable suffering, profound loss, and the most difficult of circumstances. His steadfastness in upholding Dharma, even at the cost of everything he held dear, stands as a powerful and enduring example of unwavering moral integrity.
And the story of Savitri and Satyavan.
Yes. The beautiful and moving story of Savitri and Satyavan wonderfully illustrates the immense power of unwavering faith in Dharma and in the ultimate divine will. Savitri's profound and steadfast devotion to her husband, coupled with her sincere and heartfelt prayers offered at sacred pilgrimage sites, ultimately leads to the bestowal of divine grace, enabling her to overcome even the seemingly immutable decree of fate and restore her beloved husband's life.
Wow.
These narratives offer deeply inspiring and practical examples of how living in accordance with Dharma and earnestly seeking divine grace can lead to profound and transformative experiences.
These stories really bring the abstract teachings to life, I think. So finally, how can we as modern individuals living in a very different world actually apply the wisdom of the Vamana Purana in our daily lives? It can all sound very ancient and somewhat distant from our contemporary experience.
While the specific cultural and historical context of the Purana is ancient, the core principles and timeless wisdom it contains remain remarkably relevant and profoundly applicable to our modern lives. We can begin by consciously and consistently working to reduce the influence of our ego, that often noisy and self-centered sense of separate self that frequently fuels conflict, comparison, and inner dissatisfaction. The simple yet powerful practice of giving without any expectation of personal reward or recognition is another tangible way to embody the selfless spirit exemplified by Vamana.
So it's about incorporating small intentional acts of humility and genuine generosity into our everyday interactions.
Even dedicating a small amount of our time and energy to selfless service, engaging in the recitation of meaningful mantras, or simply making a conscious effort to cultivate presence and mindful awareness throughout our day can bring us closer to the practical wisdom embedded within the Purana. We can actively learn to view humility not as a sign of weakness or inadequacy, but rather as a profound inner strength, a genuine gateway to experiencing greater inner peace, fostering deeper connections with others, and recognizing our inherent connection to something larger than ourselves.
And how can we relate to that powerful image of the 3 steps of Trivikrama in our modern context?
We can thoughtfully reinterpret those transformative 3 steps, Bur, Buvar, and Swar, as representing 3 key principles for navigating our modern journey. The cultivation of self-discipline,
Okay.
in our thoughts, words, and actions.
Okay.
The practice of self-surrender to a higher purpose or a set of values that transcend our individual desires, and the ongoing pursuit of self-knowledge through introspection learning and spiritual exploration, these three interconnected principles can serve as a practical guide, leading us on our own modern path toward ultimate truth, meaning, and fulfillment.
Right.
And we must always hold in mind that even seemingly insignificant beginnings, much like Vamana's humble dwarf form,
Right.
hold within them an immense and often untapped potential for profound inner transformation and the rediscovery of our own inherent divinity.
That's a really empowering and a practical way to understand and apply these ancient teachings.
Yeah.
So the Vamana Purana, in its essence, serves as a powerful reminder that true and lasting power doesn't reside in outward dominance or material accumulation, but rather in the cultivation of inner humility, profound wisdom, and selfless action.
Exactly. It's fundamentally about recognizing the presence of the vast cosmic light manifesting even in the most humble of forms, and about achieving true victory not through force or aggression, but through wisdom, compassion, and the courageous surrender of our limited ego.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive into the Vamana Purana.
You're welcome.
And to you, our listeners, you go about your day, remember the essence of this ancient wisdom. You are, in your own unique way. The Vamana, your three transformative steps towards realizing your full potential, are still waiting to unfold.